Here on Jimmy at the Crossroads, with yours truly, Jimmy Sengenberger, we like to dive into policy issues and really shine a light on what's going on, especially when it comes to issues like energy policy and what we can expect from in this case, Joe Biden presidency, and what the difference is between Democrats and Republicans at this point in time. Let's talk about what Joe Biden has offered up for his energy plan, which is pretty darn radical, if I do say so myself, and I do, with Dan Kish, who is Senior Vice President for Policy at the American Energy Alliance and joins us here on Jimmy at the Crossroads. Dan, can you hear me okay?
I can, Jimmy.
Welcome to the show. It's so good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let me play a clip here to kick things off in our conversation. Joe Biden in cut one making clear his view on fracking during the presidential primary debates.
No new fracking. And by the way, on the Recovery Act, I was able to make sure we invested $90 billion in making sure we brought down the price of solar and wind that is lower than the price of coal. That's why not another new coal plant will be built. I did that while you were watching. Number one. Number two.
Joe Biden saying he wants to ban fracking. Not only does the top of the ticket want to ban fracking, but his number two choice would like to as well. Let's go to cut three. Here's Senator Kamala Harris during a forum on CNN explaining her view on the safe and increasingly safe and secure way of extracting natural gas from the ground.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
So I wanted to kind of start things off there, but let me have you make the first word, Dan Kish, about what we might expect from this ticket of Biden versus Harris, especially if those clips are any indication.
Well, thanks, Jimmy. What's so astonishing about those positions is that the United States has led the world in reducing carbon dioxide. And I mean that, across the board, we have reduced our emissions more than any other country by far. And yet, the whole reason we've done that is because of fracking. It's natural gas that we didn't think we even had, and now we've got well over a century's worth. And it's only being made available because of fracking. So what's happened is we switched off of coal, which has twice the amount of carbon dioxide, and gone to natural gas, which is the cleanest organic, because that's what it is, organic fuel out there. And so basically what they're talking about is after having fought ever since 1957 in the United States to regain energy independence, we finally did it last year. We finally produced more energy than we consumed. And they're talking about tossing that all aside and hooking up to China, basically, which is the maker of most of the world's wind and solar parts, and trading the Middle East for China. So if you like that, that's what they're offering.
Yeah, Dan Kish, one of the things that I think is so fundamental to what you're pointing out is how we have led the world in reducing carbon dioxide emissions. One statistic, so this is a few years old, but I always like to bring this up, that in 2017, the United States of America decreased our carbon emissions by about the same amount as the European Union countries collectively increased theirs. Indeed, the United States has been leading the charge as we have become a net exporter in both natural gas and oil. And the remarkable thing about it is, if we are producing more natural gas and more oil, but especially more natural gas than ever before, yet our emissions are going down and have been on a downward trend overall in the last decade or so, that really does show that the technology has been vastly improving.
Oh, yeah. The amazing thing about this is that it happens against a backdrop of what should be a success story. And some people just can't accept success, Jimmy, or at least it seems like that, because to hear it, to hear some of the loudest voices would tell you that somehow we're the bad guy, when in reality, China produces over twice as much carbon dioxide as we do. And that's changing. It's getting worse every year, whereas the United States is getting better. So basically what they're saying is, you guys burn coal. 52% of the world's coal is consumed in China to make solar panels and windmills that we'll import into the United States, subsidize, and put up.
Yeah.
And, gee, can't we just declare victory? We've led the world. They'll all scold us for not being part of the Paris Treaty that President Trump withdrew us from. But in reality, while they've been going up, we've been going down. So
Yeah.
Let's just
Sure.
let's just declare success.
They also have really been making a big point of improving technology, as we're talking about, which I think is absolutely fundamental to this discussion and cannot be lost, is that there is that incentive to innovate, and they are actually innovating. Now, let's talk about what Joe Biden would do as president of the United States. Here's one more clip to kind of set the stage. Cut to, he talked a little bit in a presidential debate about banning oil drilling, I think on federal lands in particular.
Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Ends. Number one.
Okay, so never mind. Broader than that, no more ability for the oil industry to drill, period. End. I misremembered that. It's more extreme than I remember. Dan Kish, what does this agenda entail?
Well, just what he says. I mean, you have to believe them that ultimately they're responding to calls for this to be done without apparently doing their homework in terms of finding out, okay, how much of our energy do we get from these sources? And we get all of our transportation fuel basically comes from drilling, and not only is there a personal transportation, but all of the goods we get, if Amazon shows up, chances are their vehicles are running on natural gas or oil. And that's just the way it is. And they're trying to switch that over. There is some progress on electric vehicles as well, but there again, that's China ultimately when it comes down to that. And so what we're talking about is a success story made in America right here, the place where we discovered oil and gas drilling, and have drilled more wells than the rest of the world combined. And we are the world's number one producer.
Yeah.
The people ought to take that to the bank.
Sure.
It's one less problem to worry about. My God, we've got lots of problems to worry about. But having a cleaner environment and being less dependent on people who wish us ill is not something we have to necessarily do, because we've solved that problem, Jimmy.